really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and tonight's show is going to be loaded. It is a call-in show at 224-400-MARF. We're going to talk about everything in current events that just transpired and much, much more. In fact, we have a special guest with us tonight talking about a solar storm headed our way. So stick around. This is going to be a good one. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Who's holding them cards? Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight we have a packed show with a ton of current events. Again, we have so much happening. We actually have a special guest tonight. We will have Wages World on in just a minute because we have solar events happening as we speak. So before we get started, if you're new here or somebody shared our show with you, remember you can go over to marfooglenews.com, sign up for our email list. Again, if we are all of a sudden just not here or disappeared somewhere, this is how we would get a hold of you. And then also, if we knew about an SHTF situation for 100% certain, we've never used the system and hope we never use it again, that will be the way we do it. Now, also on our website, you can follow along on the show. Every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we show you here today, we try to back up with a bibliography of sources. So when you go over to the website, you'll see it's all done by thumbnail. Look for tonight's thumbnail, Our Future, Picture Perfect. Of course, what a beautiful, cute picture that is. And then click on that. You'll see that you have every single article at your fingertips. So you can grab a second device and read along. You can read back, go back retrospectively and check my work. Again, that is something that we think is very important. I believe, and now I found out that a lot of other channels actually go to our page, use our links for their channels, and they actually use it to be able to do their videos. So I thought that was really cool. Again, shout out to everybody that does that. We really do appreciate that you guys actually use our stuff. So thank you. And then big shout out to Donut. I appreciate you, and it was super cool hanging out with you. Got to get you on the show again. Or I guess for the first time. Now, at the yellow bar, that is web-only content, that stuff that's too hot for TV. This is an absolute must. You must go over here because there is stuff popping off that is too hot for TV or too far to one direction for us to cover and stay on platforms. So make sure to go over and check that out. We make sure that that's all available. At the very bottom, there is a way to enter EMP. Dex will tell you about that in just a minute here. And then again, make sure if you want to support us in any way, go over to the right side. All of those boxes are actually our affiliate links. So each one of those boxes is a different way you can support and get yourself prepared. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing tonight?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
Just to start off the show, hello, Mother Fooglers. Smash that like, says Simply Pony. Hey, thank you. And many people don't hit the like button because they don't care. Or they just don't take the time to do it. But I do appreciate those that do. Now it actually tells us who presses the like button. So, again, that's very helpful. And then Just Jules, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And then Bren H, Little One Slay Them, thank you for subscribing. Lure Making for Fun. Kenneth Kirkland, thank you so much. All right, and then let's get right into it. Again, tonight is a call-in show. First guest we will have, though, is planned. That is Wages World, which Wages World is going to go over some of the solar events that have happened. We'll talk about what he sent me earlier later on. Russia threatens to abandon American astronaut in space as sanctions threaten peace aboard the ISS. We joked about this. Dex and I actually joked about, that they would be on the space station and the Russian would be on one side and the U.S. would be on the other, and they would, put up a sheet or something and say, you can't cross our line right here. But it sounds like that's kind of what has been going on. It says, for the past 24 years, the U.S. and Russia have worked together to construct and maintain the International Space Station, where research has led to some of the most important discoveries of the 21st century. Now 227 miles below the unrivaled laboratory, Russia has waged a conflict in Ukraine that's pitted our country against the U.S. and its allies, leaving the future of the ISS in question. When you're in space and you're flying around the Earth at 17,500 miles an hour and in a very hazardous environment, cooperation is the most important thing, said former astronaut Scott Kelly. The ISS is divided into two sections: the Russian orbital segment, operated by Russia and the United States, orbital segment run by the U.S., American, and Russian astronauts were the first to step inside the ISS in 1998. From there, the partnership has continued when the U.S. shuttle program ended in 2011 under President Obama. It said U.S. astronauts like Katie Coleman relied exclusively on Russian rockets to get her aboard the station. Coleman said that once aboard the craft, where you came from didn't matter, and it was all about how to work and live with one another. So I know that there are some that, don't even believe it's up there, but for the sake of going through, of course, what they're saying, I definitely wanted to cover this because I think that the ISS is going to play a bigger part in at least what they're telling us is happening. The ISS could be something where something happens to the ISS. And this is just a side prediction that some major event happens in the ISS and the entire world gasps and it shows the ISS falling down or somebody's in it or something magically happening to it. And then, of course, that being used for something else. That's just a side prediction. It says, space is hard and space is dangerous, and in my experience with the Russian counterparts, it means sitting down, having a meal together, said Coleman. It means talking about what's hard for you, what's hard for them, and how together we can get this accomplished. We look each other in the eye and realize that we're all about the same thing. I'm sure that's exactly what happens. They just sit there floating and gazing into each other's eyes. Yeah. And then a truck driver's journey. Thank you for your support tonight. I appreciate the early super chats in the show. Doug Moore, thank you for subscribing. Welcome. And then back to India. India admits it accidentally fired a cruise missile into Pakistan. It says it's still a mystery how the so far officially unnamed missile managed to misfire and veer into the Pakistani territory. It says India accidentally fired a so far unidentified missile into Pakistan earlier this week. The country's government admitted today the incident had been widely reported by unofficial channels, but has now only been confirmed. We briefly mentioned it when we first found out about it, but again, it was rumor, so it wasn't confirmed. Now it is confirmed. It says the incident again was widely reported. And it says the Indian Ministry of Defense attributing the cause to technical malfunction with the long-running tensions between these two places and sporadic clashes in border areas. This was clearly a very serious incident and potentially one that could have triggered a military response. So India and their neighbors over there, Stan, they are one of the points that everyone has looked at to possibly start a WW3. And this was an accidental launch. One thing that I think most people should be looking at this right now and saying is how in the hell did they accidentally launch a missile because of a technical malfunction? And is it because they have some backwards technology or something? Because I was pretty sure that India actually has a lot of our technology. India has bought a lot of our missile technology. So what the heck happened here? Especially when you're saying it's a technical malfunction. Does anyone believe that this was technical malfunction, or do you think that this was something that they're just kind of brushing under the rug? Because if that's the case, what other missile launchers around the world are going to accidentally fire off and land in some other country? It didn't make too much sense in my mind, but what are you thinking? It says, had it been misconstrued as an attack, both countries possess nuclear arsenals. Although the missile involved appears to have not been nuclear capable and reportedly had no head on fitted of any kind. It says the Indian Ministry of Defense statement about the incident, which took place on March 9th, stated that the accidental firing took place during routine maintenance, and that an inquiry has now been launched to determine what went wrong. So I'm pretty sure they're going to say, oh, well, he was cleaning a little a valley there and his elbow hit the red button. That's apparently what happened. And you know, it was just set to hit Pakistan. So Irish Rebel, this is my number one source for news. Thanks, guys, for all you do. Irish, you are absolutely insane. Thank you for your support this last week. Thank you so much for supporting Independent. Like I've said, you don't have to do that, and it is very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Irish Rebel, thank you. And then, let's see here. What do you think about that? We will have calls on that, 2244000MARF. If you want to call in, get in soon. That number will be scrolling down below, 2244006273. The version with Marf translated into numbers is going to be coming after that. Keyboardist Rusty Hall, thank you for your support as well. And then again from Truck Driver's Journey, thank you. You can always write a message there as well. And then we have Ukraine officials said to claim Bennett pushed Zelensky to surrender to Putin deal. So it says that Prime Minister Naftali Bennett pushed Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to accept an offer from Russian President Putin, which would require Kyiv to make a significant concession to end Russia's invasion, a senior Ukrainian official said on Friday, according to two media reports. It says the Prime Minister's office denied the claim, and it says, quote, "If I were you, I would think about the lives of my people and take the offer," Bennett told Zelensky during a phone call on Tuesday, according to the Ukrainian official who spoke to Walla and Haaretz on the condition of anonymity. It says the reports did not specify the details of Putin's offer as reportedly conveyed by Bennett, but previous reports of Walla said that Putin is demanding an independent Donbas region, but stopping short of seeking change in Ukraine. Other reports have suggested that the plan Bennett brought to Zelensky included recognizing Russia's annexation of Crimea, recognizing Donetsk and Luhansk as separate entities, and changing the Ukrainian constitution to excise a commitment to joining NATO. So they're saying that we need to give you, those two places are going to be recognized as their own entities, which most likely will be ingrained with Russia. So Russia would in turn kind of have a lot of control over it, or install whoever they want there. They would also formally recognize that Crimea is not Ukraine anymore, and they would basically write it in paper that they would never join NATO. This is why when I get messages saying, oh, this is all going to be over soon, they're negotiating. They won't negotiate that because I don't think people realize how much the U.S. and NATO wants Ukraine. It's not just about, they want the wonderful people, they're safe. It's all about money. There's something money there's resources, there's oil pipelines, there's all sorts of things that Ukraine has to do. And there, of course, now everyone is talking about the other things that are possibly being made in Ukraine. So there may be some very, very potentially valuable resources in Ukraine, including those that are like Voldemort right now. For the next couple weeks, they're going to make that topic Voldemort and label it everything from the 17th letter to tinfoil hat. So again, lots of stuff on our website. It's a must that you go over there because there's very important things over there. Christian Fisherman, thank you for subscribing, 101. I appreciate you. As long as we get the information out, I think that most people need to understand that you need to do a basic level of going and going to our website and making sure that you are up to date on that. In fact, you can just sit, at work or on your break or something and read that bottom half of the yellow web-only content. There is so much there. It is unbelievable. So remember, go over there when you can. Then Dex, we're going to get Wages World on here in just a second. Remember, if you want to call in, first-time callers are highly encouraged to call in. Thank you, everybody on D-Live. I see you tonight. J-Girl, that's me. Really, Bear Claws, Chef Lee. We've got Steph79, Priscilla R, Lisa K23, Bear Lover, Jesse the Kid. Thank you, everybody that's dropping lemons over in D-Live. Thank you for the D-Love. And then, of course, really thank you for gifting out badges. Jammer and Gem and all of the other mods over there, thank you guys for holding it down. And then before we get started with wages, I do want to remind you, if you have not protected yourself against an EMP, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield at marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is one of the few ways you can actually protect yourself against all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3. And you can protect yourself against a Carrington-level event like what we had over 150 years ago, and also solar flares, CMEs. Marfooglenews.com/EMP will get you $50 off per device. You can also get a car version, a house version, a generator version, a solar version. If you want a full setup, you definitely want to get your generators protected and everything in your house. So marfooglenews.com/EMP, that helps support the channel. At the same time, it helps protect yourself. You'll see why we're going to talk about here in a second why these are important. But again, there is massive things possible in the next couple years with Solar Cycle 25. All right, Dex, I have a lot of the stuff loaded from Wages, and we actually have some pictures of what is happening right now. So let's...
And we have Wages live on the line, Adam.
All right, so Wages World is live. He has a larger channel, and he watches this all the time. His channel is focused on solar weather. He's basically our solar weatherman. So, Wages, how are you doing, and what's going on?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Yeah, there's been some stuff happening. I mean, this is Solar Cycle 25 is definitely here. We are starting to see that. And yeah, we had what you're looking at there. That is the NASA Enlil spiral model. That was from a long duration flare that was like 12 hours long. And it erupted with a CME also. And so what happened there is you're not going to get a big flash, right? The stuff's still traveling at supersonic speed on the sun, but it stayed that way for 12 hours. And what was kind of odd, there was no sunspot there, at least not one that was very discernible. And there's still not. And we're still getting activity from that part of the sun. It's really, really odd. We've seen it happen before, but this one, the CME that was with it is expected to give us a G2 at least level geomagnetic storm. And right as I was getting ready to come on, I was just brushing up on some stuff here and noticed we just had an M flare. That's the fourth one down. We'll get to that in a minute. I just wanted to point that for a second. If you want to go to the next image, what you're going to see there is I believe it's stereo A. It's our side view. So I'm trying to figure out if that is yeah, that is the side view. Sorry, I was just trying to look at my picture and make sure nope, that's Soho. My bad.
Okay, so
that's
this
our front view.
Is the red one, is the deep red one. Is this a side view?
There's two deep red ones. The first one, it doesn't say that's Soho. That is from our view. That's a satellite that sits right out in front of our planet, and it's about 1 million miles closer to the sun than what we are, but it stays in the same orbit as us. So that's why when you see those halos, it's a big deal, because that either means it's going straight off the backside or it's coming right at us. And that's a substantial CME there, guys. That's not going to miss. That is going to hit us. So if you go into the next capture there, that's the side view. And
Whoa.
this is how we confirm what direction. Yeah. this is how we confirm what's actually happening. So we got two different perspectives, and yeah, we got a side view and then we got a front view. So we do know that this is coming right at us. So it's not, and it does look like there's quite a bit of plasma with this one, which is why it's so bright right there on stereo A. You know, typically you'll see them fan out like the halo you've seen from the front view. This one did too. This one fanned out too, but it stayed pretty concentrated as it exited, and it exited pretty quick. It only took it 6 hours to get off of the screen there. I'm not sure exactly how fast the speed would be, but, you know, typically they're 2 to 3 days before they get here. And why this is a little different, and, you know, there's a lot of people that talk about this, but it is a very good point. There's a coronal hole that we connected to after this was shot at us. What that means is we're probably going to get a double tap. And when you get those double tap events, it doesn't take a very strong second tap to really give you issues. And most people think that when we talk about, like, you know, grid down situation, it's going to be something like that. It's not going to be just one blast. It's going to be, because our magnetic field has to recover, and there's not enough time for it to get back to its ambient position. And so when that second thing hits, we're already, I don't want to call it a weakened state. We're just not in the right angle. And that's what happens. It's kind of like reverb, just bouncing back and forth. You get compression, you get rapid expansion with our magnetic field. And if there's something right behind it, it's going to hit us at the wrong time, basically. And it will let things in through the cracks in our magnetic field and you know, the weak spots. And obviously the poles are more, you know, susceptible to that. But we are actually in a geomagnetic storm right now as I'm talking to you. It's a G1 storm, but you know, we don't expect too much from that. But I question that now because of the whole, you know, satellites that fell out during G1 storm. So it just makes you wonder if our magnetic field is not weakening to the point now to where it's not going to take much.
And just to remind people, because not everybody was following the whole SpaceX thing. Essentially, SpaceX launched all these satellites, and supposedly they said because of a solar event, many of those satellites actually weren't able to launch. They somehow fell back into orbit, or something happened to them because of this solar event. They were not able to go into orbit.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. And what happens there, guys, you get more particles in the atmosphere and it creates drag. So the drag is then, and this is the explanation we were given. I'm not saying whether or not it's what happened or not. I'm just saying this is what we were given to, you know, the information we were given. Now, what you're looking at there, that is an M2 class flare that just happened. And there was a short radio blackout with it also. We're on the night side of the planet right now, so we wouldn't have experienced it here. But if you were to go look at some of the tools and stuff, yes, it did. It was an M-class flare. And as you got that image up, if everybody would look at the top there, kind of top a little bit more towards the middle, what you're looking at there, that's where the other CME came from and what's coming at us now. And you can tell that there's really nothing there on the sun at that spot. It's they did finally name it, but it's so small. It's almost, I don't know, man. It's just kind of ridiculous that even is there like that. But you know, I say it's a lot. You don't have to have a sunspot to have solar activity. The sun can do what it wants when it wants, and this is, you know, evidence of it. But this M-class flare we just had could have sent a CME. It does look like some of the plasma left, but if it's coming at us, we don't know yet. The information just isn't there yet. The data's not uploaded or anything like that. You know, NOAA puts out their forecasting, and they, you know, right now they're saying like a 15% chance of an R1 or an R2 radio blackouts. You know, then you talk about radiation storms. There's like a 5% chance of something like that happening.
Now, wages,
but what you can
make sure
expect-
to, you're saying a lot of terminology that not everybody knows. So just make sure to also put it into
sorry.
layman's terms as well.
All right. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes I get on a roll and I just keep moving. Yeah. So what we're talking about here is the predictions from NOAA, right? Just like your weather forecasting, they do space weather. So a radio blackout is what we get when we get hit with X-rays from a flare. It happens a lot. And so when you're talking about radiation storms, that's an increase in protons. And sometimes that it doesn't take it as long to get here as a CME does. So we'll see that kind of precede some of our bigger events. And they're not predicting any kind of radiation, anything right now. But they are forecasting us to get to a G2 storm, which is a geomagnetic 2 storm. And, some of the things that can happen with that level of a storm, they have to do the corrective actions for satellites. So, this is when we start talking about that. And it definitely could. In my opinion, guys, this is something that I don't think we should just turn our head to, especially now with having the M-class flare. And something else I like to point out, we always hear about X-class flares, right? If the green sun picture that you showed earlier, you can see how that shows like an X. So people get confused. That's not an X flare. It's just the way the camera interprets the light. That's all that is. So don't get confused on that. If there's an X flare, you're going to know it. It's not going to be anything anybody's going to be able to it's just going to be there. And we don't have to have a CME when you have a flare either. That's the other misconception. And what we concern ourselves with most here, guys, is the CME part. That's plasma that gets here from the sun, and it travels on magnetic connection lines, and the magnetic connection lines are connected to everything. And so if you were to look at some of these tools, you would see that, because they're like hash marks on that first capture I sent you earlier, Adam, the first one. But it's white and black hash marks. That's our interplanetary magnetic line. And it even connects to satellites. Anything that's in space, it connects to. And if you were to watch, if you were to play a movie of that that static image I sent you, you won't be able to do it. But those lines right there, as that CME was headed towards us, every interplanetary magnetic field line, even behind the sun, moves. So what that's telling me is it's pretty strong. And we are going to take a direct blow. They're looking at, when you talk about plasma, you're talking about density, and normal density is 4, right? They're showing this one between 60 and 70. So that's
and the normal is 4.
That's pretty dense. The normal is 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So and if we get to like 10 on density, I've seen this get to like 15 or 20 and not really even give us any issue. But the issue here is, guys, that we're under constant hits right now. The sun's it's not going to go back to sleep right now. We're going to have constant activity. So it keeps our magnetic field at a state that it's always trying to correct. So when these things come in and they hit, it has such a greater chance of giving us some issues.
Now from what he's saying, and just as someone who is not an expert, I think of it as, it's our force field. And if you've ever seen a movie where, or in Star Trek, where their shields are down to 30% and one more hit, and it says we can only take one more hit, and they hit them again, and then the shields are down temporarily, and Scotty's over there like, we're trying to recharge it. Or it's probably not Scotty, I forget who's on the shields, but it takes a minute to get those shields back up. And that's what he's talking about, as far as after it gets knocked, it needs to kind of reset. And that's why in CMEs and in EMPs, they can happen in these waves or pulses. So that's why, that's why this can be a big deal or not a big deal, depending on how our magnetic field reacts.
Exactly, man. I couldn't have said it better. That really was well put. And keep in mind too, guys, when we're talking about our magnetic field, it's not a blanket covering our planet. It looks more like your grandma's Afghan with holes and cracks and everything else in it. And we talk about the weakening magnetic field because that's part of this conversation. With our magnetic field being weaker now, that's not even questioned. I mean, at all. Everybody knows. The data just shows it. And what's interesting is now the South Pole magnetic pole is speeding up too, the way it's moving. So now we got both of them. They're racing towards the middle. And obviously that's what we talked about that at a lot. And I know you spoke about the magnetic reversal and stuff too. So I'm not going to go into that, but that is a big reason why our magnetic field's weaker. And that's why as we speed up here into solar cycle 25, this is we've been being held down until like 2 weeks ago because solar cycle 24 was trying to hold on. And it's no longer doing that. The termination.
Okay, so I was literally going to ask you about this. So I said it the other night on the show, and I said I was going to ask you about it. Did you see the piece on some of the lead scientists said that they believe they saw that termination event? Can you briefly explain what that was? And apparently how I explained it is that it was the end of the cycle. Everybody thinks we're in cycle 25, which we are now, but upwards of like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we still had cycle 24 hanging on, right?
Okay. Yes, that's exactly right. What happens, guys, you got to understand that, our solar cycle, people like to put like a dead number on it, like 11 years exactly. That's not how it works. Okay. It's something that is in motion. It's fluid. It can be earlier or it can end later. And you do get an overlap. And what that is how they tell what cycle it's from is from the polarity that it shows on the sun, wherever the sunspot is. So if you're still seeing the reverse polarity and you're seeing both of them at the same time, that means both sun cycles are still there. And what happened there, guys, is, the termination event happened, and then we no longer have 24 holding 25 back. That's pretty much what's going on here. And no sooner than they come out with this, we start seeing this stuff. And so, I mean, it is ramping up. It was already ramping up anyway, but this is probably the last thing that needed to happen to really get us into like a solar maximum. And we have already exceeded the number that they were forecasting every month. We've not even come on even to where they said. We've never been below, and we've never been on that forecasted line. We've been above it, and some months extremely far above it. So what this means is we're seeing more sunspots than what they thought. And the same scientists you're talking about, these are the guys that were saying, hey, I think that this solar cycle 25 is going to be more active than what everybody else thinks. And so it looks like they're right at this point. And again, guys, I mean, all that stuff is fluent. I mean, this could all just die off tomorrow. I don't think it's going to. But when you start getting these continuous events, that's when stuff like the EMP shield that, you talk about a lot and is so important, because you just simply don't know. And given all the other stuff that's going on, I mean, yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Wages. Let me ask you a question, Wages, and then we're out of time.
Okay.
So I if you can answer this question, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Do you think that? Okay. First of all, from what I heard about 6 months ago, and this was from somebody who is a high-ranking military official. They said that the White House had a meeting not too long ago, and they are now unofficially basically following this other cycle, the not the 11-year cycle, but kind of a 22-year cycle, that they're following this different science of it. And now more scientists are kind of turning over to this, but There's the kind of accepted 11-year cycle, this and that. And then there's also a 22-year cycle under these other guys'. I heard that they were following that and that they were making preparations for that. My question to you is, do you think that they're possibly, is this why maybe everybody is selling their stocks and there's this mass exodus of CEOs? Do you think that it could be because they know about a solar event, or they're predicting massive solar events in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we can't turn a blind eye to that. That's for sure. I think that, at this point and what we're doing, even Hollywood is coming out with movies talking specifically about this stuff. So I mean, it's not a coincidence, in my opinion. I do think that they know. We all know that they know more than what they tell us. So if you start seeing these big oligarchs and everything else just start grabbing their stuff and running, you might want to stand up and look, because, and at the end of the day, are we ever going to be able to answer that 100%? Probably not, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at it, and it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be aware. And I do think that all of this plays together. I really do. I think that
it's kind of like if you see a bunch of people running out of a mall, you probably don't want to run in, right?
Yeah, unless you got a badge on. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean, and that's exactly what I would say. I mean, you hit it on the head with that. I think, and I'm going to say something here too, guys. Watch the animals. I'm dead serious about that. Watch how the animals are acting. And that right there is going to tell you exactly what's happening. They know this stuff is coming way before we ever will. And you got birds falling out of the sky for no reason and stuff like that. We all know that the animals do navigate by magnetics. And that's why I bring this up, because we're talking about magnetics most of the time when we're talking about space stuff. So, but yes, I totally agree with that. I think all the geopolitical stuff, that all plays together. And when it's all, I think what's happening is we're coming to that perfect storm type of area. And I think it's all going to play together, and we just got to be aware. So,
well,
again,
we're going to have you back, Wages, when next time there's solar activity, or if this gets worse, we're going to have you back. We're trying out Solar Weatherman. You are really great, and you always come on. You are always really, really just a polite guy. Make sure to go over and check out Wages World's channel. If you do not know how to find it, you can find it in the very first link in the show notes description. Wages, I want to thank you for coming on today, and thank you for explaining all of that.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry if I talked over people's head there for a second. I didn't mean to. I do try to bring it down. So thank you for even saying that, because sometimes I do. So,
no,
thanks, guys.
It's okay.
God bless everybody.
All right. Well, thank you, and God bless you as well.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was Wages World. If you want to find his channel, you let us know. Would you like us to slowly integrate, like a solar weatherman or something like that? Let us know in the comments down below. I like Wages. Personally, I think he's a really good guy. And I think that we need to support each other in our communities, and all of the creators that are bigger than me, smaller than me, the same size. It doesn't matter to us. We just want everybody to be able to work together. Like I said on Global Witness's panel the other day, which he graciously stopped in. As you guys know, I've been saying this for days. We need to work together. I even said on his panel that, if we are all friendly to each other, that would be 10 times greater than what all of us are doing right now. This community is extremely torn up. Everyone is paranoid. Everyone's worried about who's a shill or who's this. But what that does is no one will work together. Behind the scenes, I have reached out and I've talked to a bunch of creators. Global Witness knows better than anybody. He has a ton of people come on his channel that some people won't want to work with other people, or I won't go on that panel with that person, or I won't do this with that. What that is that's divisive. And then the creators that are saying to other people, don't watch this person or don't watch that person. You guys are grown adults. You have the smarts. Basically, they're saying you're too stupid to know that that's, not good for you. I would never tell you not to watch somebody else because you are a grown adult, and I'm not going to tell you who to watch. I think you can discern for yourself. And if you can't, then you have bigger problems than who you're watching on YouTube. I think that we should be pushing each other up and trying to work around each other. If somebody is streaming is streaming is the only time when it really matters. Is if two people are live at the same time, then you're torn between two people. I try to work with the people I know. If I don't know them, I would, if they asked, and if it was workable, I would change my time. I would try to make it work because I think that everybody should be able to watch each other. This is the only community, I think, on YouTube that really doesn't have very many collaborations. It has very minimal compared to the rest. If you look at photo review or video game review or any flipping reaction communities, music communities especially, they collaborate all the time. But with this community, it's like once they do, then it's like a whole gossip world. We should not be gossiping each other, first of all. And then a big part of the Christian crowd. I am proudly Christian, but I will say this, that Christians are one of the first to point out and judge and to gossip about each other. And that should really stop. I think that's a big thing, right? So we all need to push each other up, and it's hard sometimes because you're not going to agree with the person you're trying to push up. You're going to think something or whatever. Let's just drop it. Let's seriously work together. And trust me, do you realize how powerful all of us would be if we were pushing each other up? And I mean the creators too. So you guys are very powerful in that chat. If there's 5,000 or 4,500, however many are in there right now, when people come in and they're really rude, do not be rude back. They're never going to come back if it's their first time in there. They're judging us off of 15 minutes in here. They're not going to come back if everybody gangs up. I don't want you guys to be like, proud for the Foogle fam and just tear up anybody that is mean. Correct them politely and say, hey, give it a chance or come on in. The thing is once people put their defensive wall up, they're done. It's like, then they're never going to, once somebody feels like they did something wrong or a bunch of people don't like them, that's when people really turn into a jerk. But if you respond to that with kindness, it will go 10 times farther. I really think that that's the solution. People don't have to, they don't have to believe me. They don't have to like me. They don't have to think that I have good morals or values. I don't really care. I think that the good that we are doing in the community is better, bigger and better than the any harm that we are doing. So I don't know. I feel like we really need, you guys are a part of this. You are everything here. So please be a part of this. Try to act like we do as far as, this is your channel too. This is where you get to come and talk to your friends. So just try to keep it together for us all. All right. And then as far as this goes, doesn't look peachy. That's not a good thing. So we'll be following it, and we will be in close contact with, of course, Wages World and others that are following all of the solar activity. All right, and then Ukraine, inept Russians, tactics baffle military experts. The first thing I thought when I was reading this piece, and you can read it for yourself over on marfooglenews.com, is that, I think we're all baffled why Russia is doing so badly. And they're just like, hey, let's put a 40-mile convoy in a straight line and line up our ducks for them to come in with a drone and blow it up. This is why people are having problem believing everything that's being put out, because all we hear is the ghost of Kyiv and the F you, Russia, and they, blow them up, and this town throwing Molotov cocktails off their rooftop and forcing them back. This is a real conflict. In a real conflict, they are going to be gutting people. They're going to be doing horrible things. In WW2, some of the horror stories that those vets have, They're horrendous, and they involve the small ones, the little ones in our lives. They involve the people in wheelchairs. They involve everyone. And we're talking about things I don't even want to say. And that would be happening, okay? They're not going to just stop. Unless there's something other going on or it's part of the plan, they're not going to just stop at some homemade tire spikes. Right? They're not going to just stop with the people lined up, Red Rover, don't send Russia right over. Those tanks are not going to stop. Not if it's a real thing and they're really wanting it, or unless it's part of their plan. If they go up to them and they say, "Oh, you forced us back." These are soldiers. You think that these are 18-year-old kids that don't know what they're doing and they just got sent over here. These are trained military. Russia does the same thing we do. They break them down until they are a soldier, until they are one in a system. They are all on the same level. In fact, when they talk about any kind of racism in military, almost any military will tell you that is all out the window the second you're in, because everyone is on the same level. It's by rank. And it's by rank. It's not by, anything based on where you're from or whatever. Because you are broken down to the same level. You look up to your up rank, you look down to your down rank. So that's why I think that a lot of this is just really not sitting well. It says that inept Russian tactics baffle military experts. Tank commanders allowed Ukrainians to ambush them by driving straight up a main road. As analysts say, they've lost enough armored vehicles to equip an entire German army. Do you see why this does not sit well? Russia's not stupid, and Russia's military is highly trained. We know this. Before a few months ago, everybody knew that Russia has extremely smart tactics as far as this. In our previous, they had better tactics than this back 40 years ago, 50 years ago. We know that we fought one of the toughest forces, which was Russia, and it's not like that just disappeared. Russia are fighters. Russia are tough. U.S. are tough. I mean, there's a bunch of tough countries there. If you were just a fresh country and it poofed out of nowhere, and you were looking at the countries that you had to fight with, you wouldn't want to fight with U.S. You wouldn't want to fight with Ukraine. You wouldn't want to fight with Russia. You wouldn't want to fight with China. You wouldn't want to fight with Vietnam. That's for sure. You might want to fight with a country that's never been in a conflict, but even then, like Australia in their first conflicts, they showed up and they were ready to rock, right? There are some cultures, by culture, are just tough, and Russia's one of them. I don't know about our newest generation here in the U.S., but I sure as hell know that our older generations are tough as nails. So I don't understand this, and I'm sure most of you don't either. What they're saying in this article is all of these experts have looked at what is happening. Why are the Russians just like failing at everything? Well, I would then look at where all of this information of the failures are coming from, and also do a whole lot of research that's not coming to you from when you search keywords, because when you search keywords, it's feeding you. You need to go outside of that. You need to get a VPN. You need to go outside the constructs of the echo chamber that they have built for you. And you need to look at other countries. You need to go outside. You need to actually take effort to get around and away from what they're trying to feed you. That's why we put a lot of stuff in the web-only content that is handpicked, and we go outside those constructs to find it. Don Alberta says we are all sinners and fall short of the glory of God. Dang right we are. I have said many times, I am nowhere close to perfect. In my 20s, I was a complete idiot. I think that every day I learn something new and how to be a better person, and I think that we should all strive to be that. Somebody on the panel at Global Witness said something really good. It wasn't, I am not Christian, I practice Christianity. I'm a practicing Christian. Because you're not to be Christian is Christ-like, and none of us are Christ-like. We practice to try to be that way. We can't be perfect. And then Bible Talk 777, my channel talks about Jesus and news through the lens of Bible prophecies. Only mention other channels if I praise them. Bible Talk, no, you are. I've actually checked out, and I will say for the first couple of weeks I did not know you had such a great channel. So I again. I made sure to comment on a couple there, and thank you so much. Sabrina Graves, I appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing. Silver Lining, and Simply Pony says men's hearts failing them for fear and looking for those things which are coming on earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Prop up. And then Bound by Mountains, the closer Nibiru gets, the more the sun shows reaction. So one thing, too, is talking about the North and South poles and everything that's shifting. There's alarming things that are happening, and anybody that sees what is happening thinks, okay, it makes sense. All these elites are like selling their stuff. They're all getting their money out. They're doing fire sales. And it started about 3 or 4 years ago when it really started picking up. And then, of course, all of the elites are buying their own rocket companies. They're not buying islands. They're buying rockets. Think about that. And then, by the way, Dex, I don't know if we have our other 2 callers lined up, but you can pop in at any time if you want to do the light. It looks like we have Brian up in deck. We have a couple articles before we get to him. But Brian wants to talk about the CME and the effects on people and the brain, which I think that's a great topic. But first, Ukraine conflict. Jen suggests Putin using chemicals is not a red line for the U.S. Well, apparently we lost our pen. In fact, we lost our red pen a while back because we're not drawing any red lines. We're like, hey, hi, just come on in. Just keep running. Dex?
Isn't this akin to green lighting? It was sort of like, it doesn't matter how much if it's a small incursion, okay, now it's been green lighted. Well, we're not going to use that as a red line. So is that a green light for Russia to do that? I know many are saying
it's
that.
because they said, they said in his speech, it depends. If it's a minor incursion or it's a full-blown, take over the entire country, then that exact thing happens. They take a little bit. Now, of course, for weeks they've been saying, now it's not this. It's going to be, they're going to use chemicals. And anytime they mention chemicals and things that are outlawed by the UN and everybody else, a lot of us think, okay, what kind of Fantastic Freddy's going to happen here? What videos are we going to get from where, right? Cell phone videos of crying and the little ones and everything else. Why would you even say this? Because people are asked, maybe they're grilling. Hey, is it a red line? You're talking about them using these chemicals, right? If they use the chemicals on somebody, is that a red line? Are you going to go to conflict? Why would they even say this? Why would they even suggest it? Why would they even get close to it? What is a red line for us? Do they need to straight up walk up to President B and pow? Is that a red line? I don't understand. It says, quote, we're trying to prevent a world conflict. Psaki suggests Putin using chemicals is not a red line, and U.S. won't send in troops, and killing jet deal was to stop escalation. So basically, something happened. They were going to send in jets, and many said, this is going to start a conflict. Maybe Putin said, we're going to conflict if you send those jets. And they said, okay, sorry. Who is the most powerful country in the world now, Dex?
Exactly. You know what it is? Millie picked up the phone and called him and said, hey, we're sending jets in. Is that okay?
Right? And then G was like, I'm sorry, it's a party line. You guys remember the party line? That's what we have with our adversaries. So if we're going to surprise attack them, Mark Millie's on the job. Sabrina Graves and Ken Sterner, thank you for joining. And then Ghost Magic Show. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Silver Lining. Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the Fugel fam. Everybody welcome Ken Sterner, Sabrina Graves, and we have Silver Lining that just subscribed. Welcome to the Fugel fam. All right, and then we have Russians seen massing near Kyiv as Ukrainians fortify every street and home. So I do believe there's a lot less of the live stream cameras, but this is what I expected a month ago when we were watching all of these live streams, I was expecting them to set up like a Normandy beach, but in the city. Barbed wire, big X's that tanks it's harder for tanks to get through. Mines and things like this, just wherever. Because they already said they were going to evacuate their normal citizens whenever the opposing force gets close in a real life situation. You evacuate the normal people and you have your soldiers there. But they didn't do that. Now they're saying they're doing that. We have a couple pictures of course, yesterday we covered that they were lining up 10,000 Molotov cocktails on rooftops, and that normal citizens were going to be throwing those mofos down at them. Only 2 photos that I saw, but again, if that's what's happening, if it is what they say it is, that would be pretty terrifying. Tanks rolling down your street. So I hope, I don't hope, I hope at least that we do get a lot more video footage and pictures. I don't get what the shortage is of actual conflict footage coming out of these areas. It would be really nice to see just actual, what is happening on the ground level. What we see now is people in front of a camera and, you hear booming off into the distance and it's always somewhere else. There's booming. We hear booming. Okay. Or very specific, very specific actions. We're going to get our caller on. Live free, travel light, work hard. Here's something for the gas tank. It went over $4 a gallon here. By the way, do you still use Patreon? Much love, Foogle fam, Adam, Dex, and Mods. We do. We just don't put anything behind a paywall. Again, thank you if you have pledged. We have a plan for it. It's just Patreon we had problems with in the very beginning. And then Sabrina Graves, thank you, Backwoods. And then also, let's see here. Before we get our caller on, I do want to remind you, marfooglenews.com/prep. You can find yourself a ton of long-term survival food there. You help support our channel at the same time as getting yourself prepped. It has really amazing food. Plus, you can get a discount on a 3-month supply right now. The discounts on almost all of these long-term survival food companies have been going away. In fact, most companies have raised their prices. They have not raised their prices, but they did get rid of their $50 discount. Now, the only discount available is that 3-month supply, and that very well may be going away. So remember, make sure to go check it out. These are the kind of foods in buckets that can actually go and you can store them somewhere. You can also, I've heard some people have actually buried these, but they are airtight. They are sealed. That way you can save them for long periods of time. Also, you can get iodine pills, gadgets, batteries, battery banks, power and lighting solutions. You can also get emergency radios, medical supplies, survival books, all sorts of stuff at marfooglenews.com/prep. Anything you go over and get ends up, they will end up sending us a commission of what you buy. That is how that's their thank you to us for sending you over. It doesn't cost you anything extra. In most cases, it costs you less. So again, make sure to go check that out. New Win 90. Thank you as well for stopping in. And then, by the way, thank you, Ted, for going over and getting a 3-month supply. I appreciate that. And you guys really do thank you for that. marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, let's get our next caller on. We've got, it looks like, was it Bill or?
Brian.
Brian.
We have Brian.
How you doing?
Brian, you're live on Marfoogle News. What's going on?
Brian, you're live on Marfoogle News. What's going on?
Make sure to turn
how you
off
doing,
your.
Mark?
Hey, Brian, make sure to turn off your TV if it's
Hey,
on.
Brian, make sure to. Yeah, I do have it all.
Oh, I knew right away.
Okay. Okay.
Because I can hear me.
Hear me.
Marf, you're
Okay,
dumb.
So how is
Oh,
okay, is everybody doing good?
Yeah, definitely turn off the TV.
Can everybody hear me?
Definitely turn off the TV.
Okay, wait, I think it's my headset. Okay, I just got rid of the headset. Is that fine?
Depends if I hear myself. Okay, we're good. So, Brian.
Okay, we're good.
CME.
Yeah.
And you sound a whole lot better. Your headset is not the greatest.
Yeah, it was kind of messed up. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm on now. But Yeah, I would like to talk about the effects of magnetism on the human brain and body.
Okay, so go ahead, Brian. You're the stand is yours. You're on the podium.
Okay, thanks. Well, I have learned in the last couple of years that that the human mind is completely, controlled by electricity, and so is our body because it's made up of water, and the main controlling factor of the universe is electricity and magnetism, and it's all vibration. And and if it changes, you're going to have changes in your body. You're going to have physical effects. You're going to have mental effects. The animals, like Dex was saying earlier, and Wage, when Wages was on, I was listening to him very close. He nailed a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, this is the first time I've ever been on live television, and I'm a little nervous. But what I would like to say is you really have to be careful with the magnetism that is coming in on us now. It is much more powerful because our magnetic field is weakened. Exactly. I see the picture you have up. We are being getting ready to be struck right now by a second CME wave that is coming in, that is behind the sun, that the one that popped today, the CME that popped this afternoon. There was already one on its way, so we're still dealing with the compression wave from that one, and we have another one that's coming in right behind it. And since that other one is coming in right behind it, we're a lot more susceptible to its effects because the cracks are much bigger. As you were saying, it's more like a crocheted blanket than a sheet.
If you can, Brian,
it's all full of holes.
Yeah, it sounds like you might have stepped away from the mic or covered it with your hand or something.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
There you go. No, you're clear again.
Tried not to do that.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. Well, we know that all the effects that the animals, that like the birds is falling out of the air, like what Wade was talking about, you can see the migratory habits change of the sharks, the land, the water mammals, the whales, the dolphins, all those, the cold water fish. You can't hardly track where they're going anymore. It's all changed. Our whole biosphere is in a severe state of stress from all of this interaction, and we are in a pretty bad place, and it's probably going to do nothing but get worse. And everybody should just be prepared. And I don't know what else to say about that.
No, I agree with you, Brian. And
it's pretty bleak.
There's a lot of sea life that is heavily affected. We have seen the mass beachings, and I think that has something to do with the poles and the South Pole and all of these animals washing up on our beaches, millions of dead fish.
They all navigate magnetically. And if something is interfering with the regular magnetic system in your guidance system, you can't drive. You're going to be running into walls instead of going onto the off ramp. And that's what's happening. These big whales are landing on beaches instead of going into their breeding grounds and stuff. And they're not being able to find their food, and they're starving. They're going in the wrong places, the wrong time of years. They're mismigrating. This is, I believe, is what happened to the bees. Why haven't we seen bees in so many years? Almost a decade now. It's crazy. From the bottom of the food chain up.
It's actually very scary you say that. I've always noticed bees, but the last 3 or 4 years, it has gotten so very rare for me to see bees where I'm at. And usually every single year you would see all of these bees going from flower to flower to flower to flower. And especially since we have a ton of flowers, we always have bees. They're
Think
just
about
gone.
this in general. Bugs. Think about your windshield. How you have to clean your windshield now? Not very often.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's kind of a freaky freaky
A
thought
lot
there.
less bugs. So if there's a lot less bugs, that means there's a lot less eating going on. And if there's a lot less animals, I mean, there's something going on from the top down, and we're collapsing. Our biosphere is collapsing.
Well, they also say we are in the 6th extinction. I mean, like,
Yeah.
this is
I've
biblical.
been studying this since 2008, 2009. Like I said, I've never really talked before to anybody like this in this type of forum, so I'm a little nervous. I usually am a little more organized, and I can get my point across much more clearly. But I think I'm doing okay.
Oh no, you're fine. Well, so basically what you're saying is that, one, the sun can affect people as well, and I think people need to understand that we're electrical. Our brain synapses, everything that we do, our hearts, that's why they use electricity to start it back up.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You got to. People always say the men fear in their hearts stop. You know, that makes their heart stop. Do they think maybe that could be part of an EMP problem? You know, like defibrillation. When a big solar event happens, it makes a lot of people drop dead.
It's a very scary thought, but it's something that we need to think about and look at the kind of options, especially if you're the matriarch or the patriarch. I think most of us care about our families more than ourselves. I mean, why do people even fear dying? It's mostly because they're worried about about the people they leave behind, because we all know how painful it is to lose somebody.
Right. And we all do. We need to gather each other close. This is a very important time. You're right about not fighting amongst ourselves, about this community coming together. We need each other. We need to support each other. We need to look out for one another. We don't need to bash each other or talk bad about each other. I see that so much in this community. I watch so many different channels. And just watch these guys go after each other, and it was entertaining at first, but then it got a little strange, and I just don't know what to think of it. It's
just
really
think about
starting to seem surreal.
Think about it. You're a grown adult. If somebody is telling you not to watch somebody else, doesn't that make you feel like they're kind of condescending?
Oh yes, definitely. And that's the whole point. I don't know. It's the younger generation. So I'm almost 50 years old. I was born in 1972. I've had a pretty wild life. I've lived pretty hard. I've straightened myself up. Cleaned my act up. Raised my family and took care of everything I was supposed to, and here I am, and 50 years old, going to be, and it's like my brain is still like a little kid, like I still feel like the same person I was in 1987, but I'm in an old man body, and it's just so weird. And then seeing how different it just today is, and the younger generation will never know how different it was before the internet, and how much everything has changed because of it.
I agree with you, Brian. Well, Brian, we're out of time. Is there one more thing you want to say before you go?
Yes, I would. I would like to thank you. I would like to thank Dex. I'd like to thank the entire Mark family. You guys are great. I watch you all the time. I'm a huge, huge fan of yours. I've tried to get on here before, and I'm just grateful I've finally gotten the opportunity.
Oh, no problem. And I just want to point this out. I looked up insects or bugs are disappearing. Right away, we have thewire.in. Why India's insects are disappearing. Sciencemag.org.
Yeah.
Germany's insects are disappearing. One up here. Insects around the world are disappearing. In Germany, flying
Yeah, I think it's
insects
called
are
the
disappearing.
windshield theory. I think it's called the windshield theory. I think it's like 70% less cleaning of the windshield in the last 3 years. There's been surveys done, and it's something called like the windshield theory or something.
Why are bees and other insects disappearing? Okay, people, get right with God. This is serious. Like,
Yeah.
if people are just
Yeah,
totally
get
blind
right.
to it. This is it. Whoever's fault it is doesn't really matter. At this point, it's
No,
just
it don't.
get right spiritually.
It's default. It's what the damage is done. There's no coming back.
National Geographic did a cover. You'll miss them when they're gone. Insects are disappearing at an alarming rate that could be disastrous for the planet. Insects,
It could be.
yeah. This is it, folks. I mean, how many signs do we need?
Yeah. This is it.
Well, thank
Because
you.
we are in the mass extinction right now.
Yeah, Brian.
99% of all creatures that's ever existed on planet Earth are extinct.
That's just incredible. Well, Brian, thank you for calling in tonight. And it's your first time call. Don't make it your last, okay? Will you please
I definitely won't.
Call back in with an interesting subject. I would love to hear from you again.
Oh, I will. I have to think up a good one for you.
All right, everybody, thank Brian for calling in. And again, thank you, everybody in chat that is just being – I love you guys. All right, thank you so much. Brian, you have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. That was Brian. Again, really disturbing. Really disturbing. You know what? Even just when I saw how many articles there are about this and how many countries around the world, I knew about the bees, but apparently just from seeing a few of these, it's like all over the world, flying insects are disappearing. That's a huge sign, people. I got chills when I pulled up these results. I mean, every country is mentioned here. No, why are insects disappearing in Norway? Why are insects disappearing in Africa? Why are insects disappearing in Mexico? Every country is here. Around the world. That is terrifying. All right, let's get back into it. We have, that's called WW3. That's what President JB said. President B defends decision not to send the jets to Ukraine. Dex, do you want to go over this? I'm gonna go over to the website. I'm gonna fix some stuff in the background. If you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, he was talking, I think today, and basically he's making it clear that he doesn't want to engage in the third world conflict, but he's trying to say that if he does, or if we do anything in the Ukraine space, like sending jets in or sending military in for that matter, right? Any of that stuff would be basically akin to starting the conflict. Now, I think there's other people out there that say, look, we're already in it. It's this whole notion of what's going on globally right now is kind of crazy. But that is the gist. It wasn't many words from him, but it was enough to sort of say that he doesn't want it. And he's saying it's not going to happen. Although I don't know that he can really predict that it's not going to happen, because it's not all his say, because the other side could actually do something and we will be in it. Right. Especially if anything happens to a NATO country, then the rest of the NATO countries are going to start, and we're one of them. So we have no choice. So it's kind of strange words on his part to say he's absolutely not going to start it. But I think he's just trying to, settle some of the nerves of people and telling them that, it's not as bad as as it may seem, but I kind of don't necessarily think that that's the right words, if that makes sense.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. And then President B is to push for ending normal trade relations. This is a further step. I would make sure to go over to Marfoogle News to see our short videos on these things. Also, if you are new here, make sure to subscribe to the other channel. Most channels say that, oh, we have a second channel, but you really do, because that's where the short videos are that you can share with friends and family are. And it's where we go live for these little updates if something really big happens. I do not go live here unless it's a normal show, unless it's something kind of like in between. So make sure to go over there, and it's where we put out shorts, which I'm working on some shorts. I'm actually trying something different, so make sure to tune in there as well. The whole really everything is headed towards these short 60-second clips, because the attention span of humans has gone extremely down. If you want to talk about a lack of bugs hitting your windshield, there's a lack of attention span. It's really bad. We have no younger viewers. Younger viewers are stuck swiping. So thank you, everybody that has, half a brain. And I know most of you swipe too, but I'm saying it's hard not to when you get into the swiping thing. But folks are losing their attention span so rapidly. People get mad if we wait a minute. They say, it took you a minute and a half to get into the show. It's like people have no patience anymore whatsoever. We need to build that back up, because guess what? If you lose all internet, you're going to need it. There's going to be a whole lot of waiting. The only thing I can relate it to is when I first had a car when I was 19, and had the car for a few years, and then I didn't have a car. My car broke down, and I went from basically before 18 or before 19, I took the bus everywhere and had no problem. Then I had a car, and I could just hop in and go somewhere. When I lost my car, when my car was dead, all of a sudden I went back to the bus, and it was like I just sat there. A 15-minute wait was like hell. And back then, actually, there was cell phones, but it wasn't the same. It was like Snake, right? You're not going to sit there for 25 minutes on Snake, right? It was the longest time, and it seemed like it was hours, that 15 minutes, because before you never wait. Then I got used to it again and had a car, but it's the same thing. Then I lost that second car, went back, and it's like you get used to something. Don't get used to the internet. Don't get used to having all of these new age contraptions. You need to think and actually practice with your family for what would happen if you didn't. People think that we're untouchable and that this is all going to... In our lifetime, we're going to see massive changes. That's my opinion. What's yours? Amanda Johnson says, I'm 25. That's young, right? Yes, that is young. And usually our viewers in their, at least 35, 40 and up. We don't have 18-year-olds here. We have a few kids that are like kids of Foogle family members, and they watch, like Elliot and others. But we really just don't. So I really do appreciate the younger folks we have here. I'm 35, so that's old in today's standards. Magnetron, thank you. Christopher M. Maccabee, thank you so much for subscribing. Blen 541 a day, and then Loading. I love your name. Loading ... That's awesome. Chris S, thank you for subscribing, and then Newin 90. Everybody that is new, welcome. Welcome, Chris, Loading, A Day, Blen, and Magnetron. Okay, and then cutting off the relations. This is a big step on top of everything else, but one thing it's going to do is it's also going to affect other parts of the trade. Most of us believe that they are heavily working towards a massive world collapse, but again, it's all opinion at that point. They did say that President JB on Friday is expecting to call on Congress to join the European Union and the group of 7 industrial nations in suspending normal trade relations with Russia. This is the beginning of the really bad stuff. And then Ukraine says Russia wants to drag Belarus into conflict and warns of invasion plan. Dex, do you want to go over this one? And then after that, I will take over and we can get to the call.
Yeah, exactly. So if you go over to Marfoogle News, you'll see a short we talked about earlier. It's a similar story to this one. And what they're saying is there's been some skirmishes in Belarus, right? There's been some things that have happened across the border in Belarus, and that, of course, Ukraine is saying, hey, we didn't do it. It's being done by Russia to make a narrative that looks like we're doing something to you. And now, of course, because this is happening, a lot of people are thinking, and Belarus is also, bolstering up that, they may be actually joining into the conflict because they're being encroached upon, not necessarily taken over, but some of their locations across their border have been hit. So there's a lot of other messaging coming from Ukraine that says this could be a setup for a fantastic Freddy that would be presented as if they did it, and they didn't. And then, of course, you've got Belarus on their side saying it. We're of course they stand with Russia, right? They're the ones that was the president we saw standing in front of the battle map that had our military on it. Had I don't remember which. I think it was from Fort Hood. One of the groups there.
First Cavalry.
First Cavalry. That's who it was. It was their emblem was on there. Locations of people were on there, things like that. So, and the incursion that would then go into Moldova on that map. So, Belarus is really in bed with Russia on this. So it's not going to be surprising, in my opinion, if they actually do enter the conflict. It will be surprising under what terms they enter, and I think that's what the conversation is here, is that who's actually at fault for creating these events that are happening on the other side of the border in Belarus.
By the way, it also gave it says, according to preliminary data, but Belarusian troops may be drawn into an invasion on March 11th at 2100 19 GMT. It said, by the way, that's already passed, so we might get an update of some sort that said that this happened. But that was on March 11th. There was also chatter. We talked about this on our Marfoogle News video, and a very important one to share out. At this point, people need to practice and have some sort of plan together. You need to plan with your family. You also need to, of course, get it out to people that is a possibility. Our military groups, even just since that last video, people have reached out and said that they are being told that Russia is preparing to disconnect their internet. So at this point, it is still rumor, but where the rumor comes from is the Belarusian media outlets telling, and it looks like Belarus is like being their little sidekick or something. Belarus has helped them in their military ventures. Belarus is the one standing in front of the battle map, doing all this stuff like the Ganda that's been coming out. And then Belarus is the one who told all of these different businesses, supposedly, to switch over to .ru because they're going to be separating their internet. Why would that even come out of nowhere? We covered this over years. I mean, we covered when they first passed that law. I told you back then they were preparing for a big conflict. I told you that they were doing all this because all of the military groups knew. Everybody here knew. And if you think about it that way, what do you think China's been doing all of this massive prepping for? Taking out aircraft carriers in the desert shaped like our aircraft carriers. Do you think that that's not going to happen? We are going into WW3. So at this point, people just need to wake up to that. Whether it's manufactured or not, it's going to happen. And I'm kind of done tiptoeing around it because I am a human being, and I just, it doesn't feel good to have people call you a fearmonger. But at this point, I don't care if people think I'm crazy. That was the whole point of this, is to warn people. I thoroughly, with all of we have hundreds of military in this channel. They're all saying the same thing. They are getting ready, and they are practicing on a daily basis in some cases. See how fast you can get out of your house with your go bags. If you don't have a go bag, already you just need you need a checklist, because that's the first thing that should be on your checklist. if you can't get out via traffic, all the cars are stopped, just like the movies. How are you going to get to where you're going to go? Are you going to stay in your house? Are you going to wait it out? Guess what? If the power goes off and you find out it's across the country, probably don't want to stay in your house. Probably don't want to go. There's so many different things that could happen in this. It's incredible. And I'm not trying to scare people. People should know this. This is what people should be thinking. It's not, oh, I'm so scared. You should be thinking about it as if a storm is coming and the weatherman just said, hey, there's a tornado coming your way. You should, know that there's something on its way. Let's get our next caller on. If you haven't already, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. Energy solar generators are absolutely an amazing generator system that's modular. It's portable, it's smaller, and again, it is totally silent. There is one running right now that runs our entire show. In fact, both power bars, all of my music equipment, all of my lights, and my router are all powered off of one Flex 1500. If we lose power here, we can still do our show. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. You can link up to 96 batteries. So you can make, if you've ever heard of a battery wall or a Tesla wall, you can make a version that's actually better than that or bigger than that, more batteries than that, with an energy generator. These things are absolutely amazing. They are easy to use, and again, you can use any solar panels that you may get with them with the right attachments. And again, you can go and get a solar panel off of Amazon, or you can buy their proprietary. That's what's great about these. You can, if you already have solar panels, as long as you have the connections, you can plug that in and store them. Now, another thing that's really cool about this is you can actually add mods to make it charge faster. One of the big deals once you actually own a solar generator, and the thing that you realize is how fast you can get that charged up and ready to go. You always want to have it fully charged, so if something goes down, you'll have your backup battery and your power. This, you can actually even add a middle piece in that mods it, so you can actually double your power intake and your faster charging, or add more solar panels into one battery or into however many you have and charge it twice as fast. Or again, you can keep going. That's what's so cool about this, and it's modular. It's silent, so no one desperate outside of your home or outside of anywhere will know you're using it. And another huge, huge pro, gas generators most of the time cannot be used inside. These can. There is one right next to me running, and I don't have to worry about not being here tomorrow. So make sure to go check it out. Energy, spelled with an I, marfooglenews.com/energy. Use the code Marfoogle. Again, thank you for all of the support from everyone that goes through our affiliates. We really do appreciate it. We are independent. We're supported by you, not by a big conglomerate. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have anything. We have you. And again, the Foogle fam is more than enough. So thank you, everybody. Mr. Nobody says hashtag 19 years old. Mr. Nobody, I believe I do see that we have a few younger guys. But again, you're rare. You're not the majority here. There's not too many young people that are actually really on this. Young people are being trained, in my opinion. Anybody, you probably, I'll make a guess, you didn't go to public school, but maybe a guess, or that you were not in one of the few West Coast cities. I could probably guess that you were from Midwest. Don't know. Just making a guess. All right, and then Dex, let's get our next caller on. It looks like we have Greg, first-time caller, talking about how the conflict in Europe can affect Americans, calling from Missouri. And then, Greg, once you pop in, I'm also, if you need me to pull up anything.
And Adam, Greg is now live.
All right, Greg, if you need me to pull up anything, I can to use as reference. What is happening, Greg? How are you doing?
Well, he was live, and then he went, nope, now he's live again. Here we go. Greg's on the line.
All right, Greg, you're live on Marfoogle News.
going on, bro?
All right, how are you doing? So what? How can this? How can?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear. Can you hear us, Greg?
Sure. Affirmative.
Greg, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Here,
so
let me. This earbud is not working. I got everything turned down, and hang on one second, Bubba.
okay, no problem. We're all here for you.
All right, here we go. Is it better?
Yeah, that's fine. We can hear you clear. So how can this conflict in Europe affect us over here? What are your thoughts on that?
So I was talking with Dex, and I had a different direction I was going to go with this, but after listening to you and a couple of other callers in the chat, I guess I'm going to put it like this. I don't know any of you. I've been a long-time subscriber, Adam, so I guess I do feel like I know you, brother. But brothers and sisters in the Mar fam, I don't know any of you, and you don't know me, any of me. But I want to say this: I love all of you, and that's not just like an I love ice cream or my favorite color is blue or something like that. It's genuine. I'm a Christian. I love the Lord, and or as Mark would say, practicing to be a Christian, because I am not Jesus' right hand to God or anything like that. But I am a born again, and the way they're doing these things over in Russia, if I can say that, the way they're doing these things over in Russia, they are pulling at people's heartstrings, and they're pushing a lot of ganda out to all of you, to the point where we actually have a foreign alliance over there. I think it's like 16,000 troops, or not even troops, but what is the word? I guess I don't like saying freedom fighters because that means you're fighting freedom, But I think you get what I mean. To move forward,
Yeah.
and they're American, and we are such a compassionate people in America, and that's why I love being an American, and I love my American brothers and sisters with all my heart. And I leave this divisive BS with Satan, bind it to it in the name of Jesus. What this is going to do is, when you and Dex showed me, well, not just me, but everybody, thousands of us watching your show, the China, the panda, I don't know, I don't want to get struck, but the rover with the picture in the back with the cloud, and we kind of did, we
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up so people know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate that. And when I saw that, I was like, a few things went through my head with, NK could be used as the instigator, or a litany of other countries that have kind of either flipped or just said, you know what, this is time. Bible already said this is going to happen. And, when people are like, nuclear this or that's going to come, I'm like, okay, it's great. Why are you freaking out? Because at the end of the day, whether you're at freaking ground zero or outside the parameters of it, you're going to get eviscerated. Make peace with Christ and know where you're going, because at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff should not, as you say, scare you, because there's not, what are you going to do if you're sitting at the beach and all of a sudden what do you call it, boom, a tsunami boom goes off in the distance, and you and wifey are sitting right there, and then all of a sudden, there's a 350-foot tall freaking wave coming at you at like 85 miles an hour. You're a chump because you don't run? No, you're smart. You're not going to outrun that thing. It's just, it is what it is. Moving forward, I say that just to say this: you look on the TV screen and see the mushroom cloud. I think that is what's going to happen. Seriously think that's what's going to happen. I think a lot of the people in the chat feel that as well. We don't know if it's going to be a tactical one. We don't know if it's going to be an intercontinental ballistic one. But we know that something of that nature is going to happen. Whether it's that big or it's small, nuke is nuke, and there's repercussions for that. And here in America, we need to understand and take a page out of Ukraine. This is me wrapping it up, bringing it home. We need to take a page out of Ukraine and look at the fact that we have each other. We have the Second Amendment. Most of all, we have God. And those of us in the Marfoogle family, whether you're I say millions because I just feel that we really don't know how many military are part of the fam, but I know that if they got even just a whiff of the Foogle fam, they're going to be like the cartoon character kicking their feet, being drug over to the scent till they get over to the Foogle fam and get that good news. But wrapping it up, I just feel that if we band together, I don't care if you're all the way in a rural area or if you're all the way in the hood. If you are one of those two extremes, you are going to survive. Nobody can beat you. You know why? Because you guys are raised in this. You guys are raised in protection, family, love. And you look over to the person right now that's sitting in the room with you or on the phone or video with you, and you love that person. So you're not fighting to be a murderous, bloodthirsty, get you back, vengeful person. You're doing it because of what you love. And that's why each and every single one of the Foogle fam, like I said, from the one extreme to the other and everywhere in between, you will survive. America will not fall. In Jesus' name. That's all I have.
Well, amen. And Greg, thank you, and I appreciate your call. And I'm glad that we have you as part of the fam. And I do sometimes I feel like that where I guess it comes over a lot of us, and most of the time it's when you're in a really good mood and you just feel like telling people, hey, I really do love you, and you feel overly spiritual. I think that if people could get closer to that, then we would be in a really good place. Most of us has probably had this happen where you have, for me, it's been in the grocery store or something where I have been rude or something. And yes, I have been rude to people, or I took something wrong that was done to me at the grocery store, or felt like I was being wronged and then realized I was wrong. And then you genuinely apologize, or the person that you were rude to, then you guys are friendly now, and then you start talking to each other. There's somebody I talked to, and I've talked to for 3.5 years, that I was rude to our first interaction in the store, and that's because I thought that they did something on purpose, but they didn't. It was an accident. But it was a perfect example of, like, after that, we just started talking, and before that, never talked to the guy. I always saw him when I went into the same store, and I always thought the guy was rude to me. But it turns out the guy had a whole other life story going on and had 2 kids with cancer. And it's like, you never know what's going on at home. And then at the time I was dealing with, I had a family issue. So you have to realize that we're all going through this together. And I have thought about it, like, it'd be cool if everybody could have some sort of symbol or something. Not everybody can get a t-shirt, but if SHTF does happen, like, how could people recognize each other? How could we know, like, who's in the Foogle fam? And I bet you if you found other Foogle fam, if you weren't as prepared, you could find somebody that was. And they could help you figure this out, because there's not going to be an internet. There's not going to be a Google when all of this goes down. You're not going to be able to search all this. That's why I've told people to get books and to actually own books on survival, because there's not going to be a Google to Google how to start a fire, or what bugs you can eat, what mushrooms you can eat safely. These are all things that you either have to know by heart or you have to have literature on. So again, thank you for your call, and it's your first time call. I hope it's not your last. Okay.
Copy that, brother. And one more thing before I sign off. Yeah, just want to let everybody know that you really don't know your way with the Lord, and you really feel like you're if you let go of certain things, you're letting go of part of yourself. You're not. Your personality's the same. Your spirit's just changed, and then when you when you leave this earth, you'll go to not only a better place, but you'll see all those that accepted him as well. And it might be some people you just couldn't wait to see again. So I hope to see you all soon. And, well, not soon, not like that. No. I mean, like, when that happens, when we and all of us are in heaven, I just want to wrap arms around you. God bless you all, and take the Lord's prayer and do something with it, and put them in your heart. Accept him as your Lord and Savior, and give your life to Christ. Thank you, Marv. Thank you, Foogle fam, and I'll see you guys Caldwell.
All right, Greg, you have a great night. Thank you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Bless you. Hey, thank you, mods, for mods just in general for being really good right there. Global Impact says, Foogle fam rocks. Global Impact says to the last caller, Brian, we are right there with you, brother. And then Global Impact says, good parents make good kids. Bring them in. That's a hard thing, too. As you guys know, you guys have been there for all, most of my kids, 2 out of 3. I have 2 of the 3 small ones. Like, I've had most of my kids on Marfoogle TV, you know, like you guys have been there for the births of my kids, which is pretty cool. I have my 15-year-old, I have my 7-year-old, and now I have my 2.5-year-old and my 1.5-year-old. We were watching my son Jack, and we don't know yet, and it's still really early. We have autism in the family, and I know very much about it, and I help with autistic members of the family. In fact, a lot. And Jack is he's only 16 months, and my wife is pretty sure that he's just behind because we just went through. They say that all of the kids in the demic were behind because they couldn't watch people talk because of the masks and everything. But he has shown a couple of the signs and stuff, like no eye contact, and then some of the sounds. So it's really, I guess it's an adventure. Every child that you have, if you are a parent, you know. But I'm either way, I know how to deal with it. I guess, but that doesn't really help you kind of. It doesn't make it any easier, right? He's my first son, and he's just the funniest little kid. But it's just like, I also wonder about if anything happens and if everything hits the fan, especially if we have, if we end up having other special needs in the family, like how would we do that? So that's one thing I would definitely encourage people to look at, is if you have things that are going on that may be a future issue, if you don't have the kind of resources that we have now, think about that, because it's something that I think we should all think about for the future. Catherine Wilson, thank you so much for the support there, and thank you Global Impact, thank you Texas Rob 49. Says Adam is right. Respect everyone. You will love yourself for it. But yeah, you guys, there's other things too, like walking backwards and little things. But again, if you talk to my wife, she'll say, I believe that she could be very well right, that because of this whole last 2 years and not having the same kind of interaction as they did before. But it would be it's just life gets tough, and you just got to keep going every day, and you have to pray, and you just have to understand that people are going through problems that you may not know about. El Senor Es Mi Pastor, Dan Corsi, thank you so much. Magnetron, thank you everybody that. Also, we have a huge community here. Everybody, a lot of people here. You guys, the autistic folks in my audience. I know we have autistic folks in our audience, and it does make things a little bit more difficult, but it's a superpower. That's why I have my autism is my superpower piece of artwork over there, because it is that's my nephew's a savant. He is a wonderful, amazing, beautiful genius. His brain is, like I said, he could tell us every single vehicle in that 200 vehicle convoy. That's something special. That's something that you just can't get. That's something you can't learn. All right, Dex, let's go over the web-only content. There's definitely a lot of crazy stuff there.
Yeah, there really is. So again, if you have not been to the website after the show and looked at the rest of the story, you really are missing out. And tonight's one of those nights, just like every night. Go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for today's show, and then scroll down till you find web-only content. If you're on YouTube, it's even easier. Just open the description and click the first link that says show notes. Then you'll be there, okay? Everything else we couldn't talk about, stuff that's too political, too far to one side, might be too hot for TV. Speaking of too hot for TV, one of the biggest ever podcasts based on statistics and numbers was yanked off of a platform today. Go find out who was on it. I think you know, and you'll know exactly who was on it and why it got yanked. The investigation continues. We got a double dose of the investigation in the headlines tonight. And then there's also a video of Putin. And this is an interesting one because because it's a video, you can make your own judgment. Like, you don't have to listen to the rhetoric of, oh, he's sick and dying. You can look at this and say, is it just him walking around, or is it him walking around like he may be having some sort of ailment? And so go take a look. They claim that he's got some sort of shake and that his steps and the way he was stepping looked off. Now, it's just one video, so it doesn't really necessarily mean anything, but it's there for you. Go take a look. Also, someone who was in the news is thinking that they may have a problem with their connections and that they're going to jail, and they are afraid they might lose their life over it. And so they decided to yell out about it. So you can go find out who that was. That was just recently. You probably heard about it. That one got covered a lot. And then, by the way, some weird stuff going on with DuckDuckGo. So if you're not aware, apparently they're starting to do some of their own filtering on results, something we never thought would happen at DuckDuckGo. Go get the details. It's all there. Head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for today's show, scroll down to web-only content or on YouTube, open that description, and click the first link called show notes. And then don't forget about the EMP contest. It's right there below. Everyone asks where it is. It's simple. Go to any one of these web pages where it's a main show, and you'll find it down below. It's right there. You can enter daily. You have multiple ways to win, multiple chances to win. Come back every day, and you can re-enter again.
By the way, Ilea that's a really nuts. So, by the way, if you do know anybody with autism, Ilea says many people in the scientific community believe that autism is part of the next phase of human evolution. Please read Neurotribes. So, my nephew is incredible. Like, his brain is on. By the way, currently my nephew, he has been taking a different flag to school, and I just thought about how it was when we were kids. He has a different flag every day that he brings to school, and we're talking about a full-size flag. And yesterday was the Greek flag, and he brings it and he walks to school with it, and it goes, and everybody knows him as Flag Man. And I was thinking, man, when I was a kid, and my sister and I laughed about it, like, you would have been made fun of then. The one kind of positive thing, but I think it's kind of fake, of nowadays is, like, now weird is cool. Like, weird or off or nerdy is actually cool. It is cool. In fact, if you like sci-fi, everything else, that is the one good thing I think about the Gen Z, is how people have embraced kind of people's weird, if they like anime, or if they like this, or if they like that. That's something that, you're not the stupid jock saying, oh, you like Star Wars, you dummy, or you're a Star Trek nerd. That's gone away. But I know that kids are still making fun of other kids. It's just, I think that it's not openly acceptable. But he does that, and it's like, if you understood his brain, he knows every single city and capital of the world ever. That is something incredible. That's something none of us could do if we tried. You would have to spend years. He did it in a few months. He learned all of those. All he has to do is read it, and it's in his head. So I almost believe that could be some sort of truth, right? That maybe we're evolving into this super race. There's so many more children with autism now. And the one thing I'm angry about is if it's not the next part of evolution, that it's because of GMOs or something in food, and that maybe it's our fault for eating different foods or something. I don't know. But there are so many more children with it. And people say, oh, back then they just called it, a little bit. No, it's a different kind of thing. I really think that, the food and everything we ingest is changing people. But that's just an opinion. Sandy B says, I recently found this channel. I'm in Texas in McKinney. Hey, nice to see you from Texas. I'm glad we found each other. Thank you so much for being here, Sandy. iPet Mermaid. Somebody said Duck Duck gone. Yeah, people have been saying that they're moving over to Brave. I cannot believe that. Why would they do that? So the thing is misinfo a few months later is info. So somebody got to DuckDuckGo. Point period. Somebody got to DuckDuckGo. If that's the case, they're done. I've been trying to use it a lot more. I was using Google because, it's like I'm just looking for a picture of something stupid. Like if I'm referencing a monkey, I'll pull up a picture of a monkey. But actually, DuckDuckGo, even for images, was easier because Google put it over on the side because I think they knew that people were doing streaming. They made it so it was a pain in the butt. So either way, I just can't believe that. DuckDuckGo, come on. All right, it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro.
Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards.
I totally killed your guys' ears. I'm sorry.
Nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards.
I got the Emory O'Brien and the Simply Pony on the back end, with a Catherine and El Senor on the Pastor Wilson, on the Dan Corsi and the Mr. Nobody and everybody at 19. Amanda Johnson, the Krista Macappy, with the blend 1541 and the day and the guest dinner. I'll bring it back now. Everybody gonna go back and eat a late dinner. Off the cuff news. I got the P Tellium and the J Stone 78. Everybody know. Hey, Tim 4 hat and the tree hookers, Dr. Fatler and a fat bird. Hey, everybody really wanna fight. We the back in the boat factory. We the Simply Pony G at Old Bill in the Nutshell League out in 1969 Calamity Chain. Terry Snyder, Joker Ace, and everybody know with the Irene Russell and Natalie D. Everybody got to call me Patrice. Hey, hey.
They really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards.
I got the iPad mermaid in a little pal. Everybody say, hey, oh wow. Mr. Grifflaw, oh it's top. Miss Kenny lies in the coleslaw. Everybody do it back coleslaw. Going right back and we go with Rob. Humble as a shaker and a big old baker and a bone bound down with the Lisa Nutell. Scott from a sea with the bend in it. I do it back round, everybody get in it. Galactic Empire storm on trooper. Do it down and hold down the pooper. Won't die, I got dope now. Everybody know the one, not one, Lou John. K.O. Pat, know the 4 for real. Me, Caleb, and know so well. Everybody know that stop like green. Do it right down and everybody agree. Boom, 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 boom. Nobody walking down, no day see ya. I've had mermaid, Aaliyah. Neil Titus and the rest of Texas Rob 49 with the Marfoogle. I'll be a hit rock star, bring it down far. Never going down and never go by. Cat deep high and I wrote to go. Great on wine and everybody know. Hey, hey, it gets so posable bad. Everybody knows the disposable dad. Gonna be with the don't see. Bass and soul in the Marfoogle. See, hot now, hold it back now. With the Dr. Fat Bird, everybody know now. Lisa Nutson, hey Big Griff. Nobody's gonna go give it. I feel cold, I feel cold, I feel cold. I spit stats, silly, whacking up, meow meow. Oh, Robert, alright, yes, you know now. Peppermint on the love you all. Marfoogle flame and they get them draw. Hey now, now everybody knows that we love you all. Hey, oh, never call them a troll, call them a future mafia.
Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards. Everybody really wanna know who's in charge, but nobody knows who's holding them cards.
Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom.
Kathleen McCarthy on the night, Marfoogle score, everybody know, bro, this is insane now. Oh, nobody knows like our night call. Hell, yes we are. Good song and a heavy heart. Oh, now with the sky fall and the J-Stone 78 in bar. Bring it down, down in the 16 bars. Bring it down and not so far. Everybody knows a peppermint is the best peppermint. Everybody see the love out there. Sandy B, Roach go, helpful angels, Dre knows. Only John, I found Waldo and Marjon. Hey now, with the Dex J and the Natalie D with the Wiggle Wiggly. Hey now, got a big bounce with the Allen V.